This administration is going after folks who are actually American citizens, looking at how they can change their status in order to hit the numbers he's hoping to tout in this administration. Because of the process they've had, they haven't been able to not only hit the numbers, but they've done it in such an inhumane way that you're beginning to see independents recognize that the implementation of how this administration works through sensitive, controversial policies is actually not what we want or not what they wanted when they voted for this presidency.
Well, the bill looks like it's going to go through, doesn't it? But it's going to be the beginning of a whole fresh argument. Molly Ball, our colleague, the senior political correspondent for the Wall Street Journal, is on the line. Hello, Molly.
Hello, John.
Hi. So, I mean, it's still going to carry on, and it's going to kick off maybe with a kind of new energy. I'm told that Hakeem Jeffries is about to sit down, no doubt to a round of applause from his own side of the House of Representatives. But Molly, I mean, Hakeem Jeffries has made his point, and it is fair to say that a lot of his party, the Democrats, they think this bill is going to give them stuff to work with, don't they?
That's right. The legislative fight is coming to an end over this massive bill, but the political fight is only beginning. I'm looking at the feed from the chamber right now, and Jeffries has in fact stepped off the dais, the place from which he was speaking, and as you said, he was greeted by applause from his fellow Democrats after setting a record and speaking for nearly 9 hours. But both parties are going to now have to take this argument to the American people. You know, the public polling that we've seen so far shows that this is a massively unpopular bill, but also that most Americans don't have a very strong sense of what it is and what it does and what all is in it. Yeah. And some individual provisions are themselves popular. So you're going to see the Republicans and the Democrats take this argument to the people. And, you know, the Democrats making the argument, as Jeffries has just done for a quite long time, that this is going to kick millions of people off of their health care and blow up the deficit, all for the cause of giving massive tax breaks to the rich, and Republicans pointing to the tax cuts in the bill, and Trump saying, you know, this is going to supercharge the economy and cause massive growth and lead to the golden age that he is fond of proclaiming. So which side of that argument Americans believe as they start to see this bill take effect, and as they hear more about it in the coming months, could be the key to which party wins the next election.
Right, and as understanding of what the bill is grows, as well as watching the effect of the bill as time goes by. I'm struck by you saying, Molly, that an awful lot of people, it's not widely perceived to be fully understood. When you're looking at a piece of legislation where, on some estimates, nearly 12 million Americans will lose their right to medical insurance under the changes to Medicaid, and the tax cuts will benefit the top fifth of Americans by 2.3%. If you earn over $3 million a year, that's worth $120,000 a year. And if you're in the poorest, you could lose $500 a year. Say some estimates when you take into account the cuts in benefits and welfare. When you've got stakes so stark as that, Molly, it's striking that the debate isn't more widespread and more heated at this point.
Well, I would say a couple of things. First of all, these tax cuts are already in place. This is about a continuation of the tax cuts that Trump and the Republicans passed in 2017, which were themselves rather unpopular, and which the Democrats complained about in the 2018, campaigned against in the 2018 midterms. But had the Republicans done nothing, those tax cuts would have expired and everyone's taxes would have gone up. Yeah. So rather than giving a new tax cut, this is about continuing a tax cut that was already in place. And Republicans have long been opposed to welfare programs in general. Medicaid, which is the health insurance program for the poor, was massively expanded under the Obama administration as part of the Affordable Care Act, and Republicans have long been opposed to that. There's a lot of concern, though, among Republicans that this will drive hospitals out of business, that particularly in rural areas, which are largely represented by Republicans, and particularly for those poor and working class populations, which we have seen increasingly move to the Republican Party in the Trump era, that this could cause a lot of pain. Trump has many times vowed not to take anything from Medicaid, but the Republicans claim that all they are doing is changing the eligibility to eliminate illegal immigrants and able-bodied non-working adults from the program. Illegal immigrants were already ineligible for Medicaid. So I think it remains to be seen whether and how people are actually going to feel this. Another thing I would say is a lot of these cuts are not going to take effect for some time, potentially for a couple of years.
Yeah, it is a big part of the Republican argument. We heard it in a they called it facts and myths, a big statement from the White House the other evening, saying that a huge proportion of people receiving food aid were single men of able body who, should they argued, have been working and needed to be, well, spurred on to work. It's the essence of the sort of welfare argument, which is, distilled again in this bill. Sienna.
Hi, Molly. I wanted to ask you about this row between Trump and Elon Musk, which has flared up again. And obviously, Trump says that really the thing that Musk is annoyed about is the EV mandate issue. Do you know what the kind of polling is around kind of the feeling of the American people around that? Are they on Trump's side or on Musk's side on that? And kind of more broadly, do you think this threat that Elon is, he's saying he's starting a new party, etc., is going to unseat these Republicans, everyone who votes for the big, beautiful bill? Is it a real worry to Trump at all, or is it a bit of a damp squib? Because, perhaps he could be removed from Tesla or all these kind of things. What do you think the real threat is there?
It's a great question. On the EV, it's not really an EV mandate, it's a subsidy. And I think there's some disagreement about whether Musk really favored it or whether it even was available to Tesla buyers. But Musk has, said that his opposition to the bill is because it spends too much. And we've seen him become a quite vocal opponent of government spending. And we had the whole Doge drama at the opening of the Trump administration 6 months ago. But Elon has been mostly quiet about the bill as it has gone through to final passage over the past week. He raised a lot of concerns for a while there, and last week said that they should all hang their heads in shame and that he was going to run primary candidates against all of them if it was the last thing he did. But then he sort of went quiet about it. So I think there's a lot of uncertainty about what he plans to do. At one point, he said he wanted to start a new political party. But again, we haven't seen him take any concrete steps in that regard. Certainly, if you are the Trump White House, you would rather have Musk in the tent than out of it, rather have him spending money on your behalf than against you. But I think it's very, very unclear, especially given this sort of flakiness that we know to be part of Musk's personality, whether he'll actually stick to that and what kind of interest he's going to have in politics when the rubber hits the road and elections start happening in earnest, a year from now. So the White House certainly not happy about Elon being such a vehement critic, but it hasn't proved to be any sort of impediment, really, to the passage of this bill.
Yeah, says something that Elon Musk, or for the matter Donald Trump, not tweeting or Xing or truthing deafeningly for a day and a half counts as an eerie silence. Yeah. Adam Bolton.
Yeah, I just wonder, obviously it looks as if the bill's going to go through, although it's been amended in many ways. But do you think it has put strains that will probably get greater within the Republican Party about supporting Donald Trump and supporting his agenda? Because, we have seen more opposition from within the Republican Party than previously.
I don't think there is. I think there is pretty much unanimous agreement in today's Republican Party that they want to support Donald Trump's agenda. They just disagree about what should be in it. So you have a lot of fiscal conservatives saying, Trump wants to cut the deficit. He doesn't want to blow up the deficit like we're doing here. You have the moderates saying Trump said he was going to protect Medicaid, not cut Medicaid and shut down hospitals as we're doing here. So they are largely invoking the president to substantiate their objections. They are not couching these as criticisms of Donald Trump. In fact, earlier this week, we saw two of the last remaining members of Congress who are willing to criticize Trump even a little bit, Representative Don Bacon of Nebraska and Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina, both of whom were considered moderates, at least in today's Republican Party. They both decided they would not seek re-election, and they both made the point that the sort of aperture for independence and centrism continues to shrink in Trump's Washington. But again, you don't see many critics of Trump in today's Republican Party. That ship has really sailed. I think in his first term, you had a party that was much more devoted to traditional conservative principles and trying to hold out for that definition of the party against Trump's rather idiosyncratic worldview. But at this point, it is Trump's party. He has taken ownership of it. And if you're still a Republican office holder at this point, it's because you've made your peace with that.
Okay, great to get your thoughts, Molly. I can now say that we are joined now by Amanda Renteria, the National Political Director for Hillary Clinton's presidential run in 2016, who's now Chief Executive of Code for America. Amanda, welcome to the programme.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're very, very welcome. Let me ask you briefly. We've got Sienna and Adam here with me, Molly Ball on the line there from the other side of the Atlantic, where you are. The bill, the big beautiful bill, looks like it's on its way to becoming law. Is it going to be a game changer in your view? And taking into account that we've seen this bill is not popular, in some ways it has been particularly unpopular, but not necessarily to the benefit of the Democrat Party. Is this going to be a change in all of that?
Yes, I think we are going to start to see people really understand what kind of government services are provided. So for a long time in this country, I don't think we've educated people enough about the kind of services folks provide, like healthcare coverage, et cetera. And now, while this administration might want to tout this as a big, beautiful bill, they are now branding the next actions that are going to happen to people all across the country. And that is losing healthcare coverage, losing food assistance, energy assistance. Those kinds of things are kitchen table issues, and they make an enormous difference on what's happening on the ground, not just for people, but certain industries as well, that we are going to see a major shift in this country over the next couple of years, should these go into implementation.
Okay, Sienna, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I wanted to get your take on what's happened with the Democrats, because my understanding was the kind of base really wanted them to fight harder, and they would kind of disappeared in terms of the kind of fight against Trump, and that this filibustering sort of ensures that they're really taking the fight to Trump and making that visible. What is the feeling at the moment in the party?
I think what you're seeing is a real coalescing around this moment to really showcase the difference between the two parties. And that's what you're really seeing out there. And you are seeing Democratic elected officials at every level of government really talking, reaching out to the community with, I'd say for the first time in a long time, one voice. And it really is around Medicaid cuts, healthcare. What does it really mean to be in this country? And, our party, the Democratic Party, is very much making sure people are okay, while you're seeing this bill give away tax cuts to the wealthiest Americans. And that distinction is going to be important, not just now, but for redefining the Democratic Party going forward.
Amanda, what about the border? Because the number of unlawful, undocumented migrants crossing the southern border has dropped so dramatically. There's the president boasting it's down to zero the other day, and there's no denying that. I guess it's true that the fall in the numbers crossing the border, it predates Donald Trump's presidency for sure, but the results are pretty clear to see now. That's going to count for him, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he will go back to that messaging, but it is virtually closed. I think what you're now beginning to see, though, across the country is that this administration is going after folks who are actually American citizens, looking at how they can change their status in order to hit the numbers he's hoping to tout in this administration because of the process they've had they haven't been able to not only hit the numbers, but they've done it in such an inhumane way that you're beginning to see independents recognize that the implementation of how this administration works through sensitive, controversial policies is actually not what we want or not what they wanted when they voted for this presidency.
Adam Bolton.
So what do you think this means for the midterm elections?
Well, you'll hear more and more of this across the country. People will start talking about the implications of this bill. Why is your healthcare hospital executive worried about making ends meet and keeping doors open? Why are clinics now seeing their closing in rural areas, particularly in red, lower income districts? You're going to see a lot more of on the ground. What does this now really mean for people? Because those same people aren't going to feel the effects of a major tax break or tax cut that the higher end Americans will feel. Now, the question's really going to be, how does industry react to this? What happens to our clean energy industry? What happens to a lot of these industries that were beginning to show up in healthcare? What does it mean to not only have this happen while the administration has also cut NIH grants and healthcare grants at the federal level? So we are seeing a massive shift in this country that it will be very clear what this administration's priorities are, and more Americans will begin to see the negative impacts of everything this administration has done.
I mean, that's interesting. I mean, that would be a watershed, because what we have seen recently with the rise of MAGA in the United States and other groups in this country, that the populist message appears to be stronger very often with poorer voters than the direct economic self-interest message.
Yeah, and I think one of the messages that Trump had during the election is, hey, I'm a business guy, I know how to do this, and I will make sure you're in a better financial position than you are now. And that is proving not to be true. But people believed that at the time of the election. So as more and more of these policies begin to affect people's bottom lines, their health, the assistance, their communities, it will become clearly evident of what kind of policies Trump and this party have had for the American people.
Okay, Amanda, just nearly running out of time, but do tell me this. I want to get Molly's thought briefly, if we can, in the moments we've got left. But I mean, can the Democrats really cut through, even in time for the midterms, unless you have a leader who really cuts it in the eyes of enough voters? And clearly that, it could be argued, is not Kamala Harris. That's got to be done, hasn't it?
Well, look, the Democrats already...
If I could get Amanda briefly, and then Molly.
Okay. I think the remaking of the party is happening from the ground up, and this will simply fire that process up even more and really inspire folks to come forward with perhaps a group of leaders. I don't actually believe you need one leader.
All right, lastly, your word on that, if we can, Molly.
I was just going to say it feels very much like the 2018 midterms, when the message of the Democrats was that Trump had just passed a massive tax cut for the rich while trying to take away people's health care. But the main engine of the Democrats winning and taking the House in those 2018 midterms was simply that Trump was very unpopular and there was a widespread backlash to him. And so for that reason, they see the wind as being at their back this time as well.
All right, Molly, great to have you with us. Do come and join us again very soon.